Luka Doncic was traded this year? Oh my God. My name is Deeb.
My name's Scott.
Welcome to the Single Barrel Sports Podcast.
Welcome back to the Single Barrel Sports Podcast. Watch some college and football, have a couple beers, a couple bourbons.
Nah, he's the GOAT. There's no debating that. Will not be nearly as good as the hype.
You know what will be as good as the hype, though, is episode 9 of the Single Barrel Sports Podcast. Deeb, what is going on, my brother? It's good to see you, man. How you doing?
Yo, episode number 9. Not to be mistaken with 6. It's 6 upside down. It's going pretty good, my guy. How are you doing?
Can't complain, man. Just, we like to catch up on life a little bit before we really hit the sports stuff here. So let me talk a little bit about what's going on here. You know, Raven is a runner. She does the half marathons.
Oh, yeah.
And she has a goal of doing one in all 50 states. And she's done, I believe, 11 already. And this weekend, we're going to Savannah, Georgia to hit number 12 and check that off the list. So kind of crazy. You know, it's been less than a year since we had a baby, and this is going to be our second half marathon already. And very proud of her. Looking forward to our trip. But what's going on with you, man? What's new?
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome. Have you guys ever been to Savannah or Georgia at all?
She has been there. I've been to Georgia, but I haven't been to Savannah. So this will be kind of a first for me, but this will be a repeat for her. She's been to Savannah before.
Cool. That'll be cool, man. You have to let me know how it is. I've kind of heard mixed things. Like some people really love it, and the downtown seems like a cool spot. And then I've also heard some people that don't like it. So I'll be curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are, and wishing her the best on the half marathon. I know that that's not an easy feat to accomplish.
Absolutely. No, I could never. You know my knees, bro. I could never.
Yeah,
What's going with you guys?
You usually fall down the stairs, so. I don't want to sound like a broken record, so I'm not going to, but actually we'll be heading to Jamaica on Friday, so also we'll be traveling. So my birthday is coming up on Monday next week, so right after the Super Bowl. So we're going to be going down there to celebrate and just kind of get away, for a few days. I know you remember when you guys lived here, we used to always do like some sort of an event for my birthday. We would get a cabin. I know you and I have shared lots of memories at these cabins and hot tubs and all sorts of fun stuff. And,
Falling trees, lots of
falling trees. Yeah. Bourbon, winter, etc. So just decided, I don't know, try, mix it up a little bit this year, go somewhere where it's not so cold, where we're here in Michigan. So looking forward to that, man. Just want to get away and rest for a little bit. So.
Nice. Well, let me ask this. Are you going to Kingston or Montego Bay? Montego Bay.
So we're flying into Montego Bay, and then it's some other place. It's like Ocho Rios or something, I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I did a couple of medical mission trips in Montego Bay. Went there a couple times. Had some really, really meaningful and also some fun experiences there. So I hope you have a really good time, dude.
Oh yeah. Well, cheers to that. Yeah, man. Cheers, man.
Yeah, man. Yo, and I thought that was just something people said. No, it's like a real thing. That's a very, very common phrase down there.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna be saying that the next time we record.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the next time we record, this might be just a little teaser for next week. So you will be soaking in the sunshine and enjoying some time away from the grind of life. So in your absence, there will be a guest, one of my old roommates from pharmacy school.
Yeah.
It might even be 2 guests. I'm working on firming this up, but I think there might be kind of a throuple going on here next week with just a couple of my roommates, and it'll be a Super Bowl wrap up. So we'll definitely miss you for that, but the podcast will still be airing, and hopefully we'll make you proud.
Hell yeah. No, I'm looking forward to that. I think it'll be a cool change up. And I think I know the 2 people that you're talking about, and those are some great guys, and looking forward to hear their takes as well.
Yeah. Well, Jordan always has a lot of takes, and he's statistically savvy. So I'm looking forward to hearing what he's got to say. And, if Zach makes it on there with us as well, it'll be fun. It always is.
Hell yeah. Well, before we get into the actual sports, I know we like to just do a quick social promotion to just kind of let people know, if you're a new listener or someone who is just stumbling across this podcast, and maybe if you're someone who's seen this before, we have everything that you need on one single spot. It's singlebarrelsports.com. It's just the name of the podcast.com. And you're going to find all the links to all of our socials, which, Scott, you want to tell them where we're at and where they can find us too?
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone has their own kind of flavor that they enjoy for social media, but we try to sprinkle a little bit here and there on everything. So you can find us on Twitter or X, whatever you call it. Find us on Instagram, TikTok. We do have a Facebook. It's pretty new, so it's not as, I don't believe it has as much engagement on there, but it does exist, and we are posting on there.
Yep.
And then we have shorts that we post on YouTube, as well as all of our full length podcast episodes on YouTube and on Spotify, both with video as well. So you can check us out in a variety of places. And again, all of those links can be found at our website, singlebarrelsports.com.
Hell yeah. And we have a little teaser, but you're going to want to make sure you keep that link for one of our things we're going to talk about today, because there's something special we're going to do for this. So, keep that in mind as you continue to listen. So, you want to talk about some sports?
Let's dive right in, my friend. Talk to me about a little bit of the golf action that we teed up last week. You see what I did there?
Oh, hell yeah. You have to do it that way, right? You got to start making these golf jokes as we're starting the PGA Tour full season now. Things are kind of getting underway, and last week we gave a little bit of a preview of the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, which is kind of like the Kickstarter. It's almost like, I'd call it like the preseason in NFL, where it's like you're getting there, it's kind of starting up, and it's really going to get kicked off this week at the Waste Management. But just to give a little bit of a recap from that. So I thought it was a really interesting event. I was able to watch kind of here and there. I didn't, golf's one of those sports where, you can fall asleep to it or you can be super engaged. And if it's really like that last day on Sunday, that's usually like the day I love to watch. But, Rory McIlroy ended up actually winning this at shooting minus 21 for the 4 rounds. And I want to say congrats to him. He pulled it off. He's one of those guys where he is a very well-known person on the PGA Tour. I feel like a lot of people know who he is. He's kind of almost like was in the shadow of Tiger for a little bit when he was coming up, but he hasn't been like, he's been on and off. He goes on streaks where like he'll win a few here and there. He's had a long dry spell for his majors, which a lot of people will make fun of him for, but he still has, more majors than the majority of people in the sport. And so he's still, I think, one of the top golfers. He just, I think, struggles sometimes to, show up. But I want to actually show a clip here because there's 2 people that I'd like to talk about, but he's the first. I'm going to show a clip that he had a crazy hole-in-one. And this, I think, was on the first day. I don't know if you've seen this yet or not, Scott, but
Yeah, well,
this was on the first day.
Yep, I was following along and I saw this when it happened, and it was it was pretty cool.
So this is on a par 3 to, I believe, yeah, it was a par 3, of course. It's a hole-in-one. I don't remember what hole it was, but it literally just dunked in. That's why you didn't see anything, right? Like you're looking at it and you're like, where'd the ball go? And it's just like, yeah, he literally just dunked it in the hole, which that does not happen very often. Like, number one, holes in ones are rare, but to completely just dunk the ball in the hole, that's like legit, like super rare to see it that way. So
Yeah,
I don't know. What'd you think of that play?
Well, as someone who doesn't watch golf super regularly, and I've been trying to get a little bit more into it this year with the TGL and now with the PGA, it was confusing at first for me because, like you just said, I was waiting to see it kind of bounce and roll into the hole, but the camera just kind of stopped and it was gone. So for me, I was like, wait a minute, did that just land in the hole? So I had to do a little bit of research and realize, like, yes, it did. I'm like, that's a crazy shot.
Yeah, and oftentimes when that happens, I've seen it happen where the hole like blows up. So like there's so much impact from the ball that they have to replace the cup because like when it hits, it like literally damages the cup, and they have to like stop play and stuff. I don't think that happened from what I saw here somehow, but that definitely can happen, which is crazy. And how rude of me! I forgot to mention that we are in the weekly recap, guys. This is what has happened in sports this past week, and we're kicking it off with the PGA Tour. So the other people I have to give a shout out to for the top 5 would be number 2, Shane Lowry, who shot minus 19. And crazy enough, man, I don't know if you saw this one, but he also had a hole-in-one. And his was a little more, let me show this. His was a little more on like the traditional side. of what I would say is what you usually see for a hole-in-one. But let's check this out and see what happens on this play. So he hits it, takes a couple bounces, and then dives right in there. And then look at this. I think that's like the amateur. I think that was with him. I don't think that guy's a pro. The one that just did like the chest bump with him. I think that's like the amateur that was playing with him, which is really cool.
I think we need to take that chest bump and put it into a future episode of Bourbon Blunders, because there was not a lot of emphasis on that. But that was pretty nice. My favorite part of that clip, and you see this when you golf for real, is like the guy behind him starts getting super excited. Like he can tell that it's on the track.
Yeah.
And it just reminded me, like sometimes whenever we've golfed in the past, like I don't usually have those nice of hits, but when you hit it clean and everyone around you starts getting a little excited, it's like that's a cool feeling in golf.
Yeah, and the interesting part about this is Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry are both from Ireland, so they placed 1 and 2. There's also another event that's it's later on in the season, but they usually play it, I think it's in New Orleans, and it's a very unique event where they play teams, so you get to pick a partner and you play like your 2 scores basically. So they like add the scores up, and Rory and Shane were partners and they won last year. So it's kind of interesting to see they finished out, 1 and 2, and they were partners last year and ended up winning an event. So it's really cool to see, the Irishman at the top of the leaderboard. The other people rounding out the top 5 were Justin Rose, which was kind of a surprising one. He's an older golfer, but he's still got it. He plays in TGL too, but he finished out -18. Lucas Glover also, and then Cam Davis -17 as well. So they all played pretty solid. And, we did have a betting card that we put out. So all I have to say is screw you, Ludwig Aberg. He was on the betting card. This guy's a great golfer, by the way, but screw you for withdrawing due to an illness that nobody knows what it was. He literally was in last place after the first round, and I'm like, was he really sick, or did he just play so bad that he got sick and he just didn't want to be out there?
So, I thought that was interesting because I was keeping an eye on him and I saw how poorly he was playing, and then all of a sudden he was just gone, and I was like, wait, why did he withdraw?
And you'll see he is a really good golfer. Like he's usually not at the bottom. I was very surprised by this. It was abnormal. But we had him on our betting card. And then the other notable I'll say is Cam Davis was actually on the betting card. He was 101 to win, so we did an outright winner card. He finished in the top 5. So hey, I mean, we didn't win, but he was doing okay. He was close. And then Jason Day was another one we had, and he finished in the top 13. So I lost the bet, and I have to tag Rory and apologize for not picking him as my.
Yeah, let him know. I do have to say, and this is no secret if you've been following along on this podcast, I'm a very, I would say, less than casual golf follower up until this year. And so this year I'm getting more casually into it, trying to keep up with it. And in our daily fantasy league that we had, I actually almost picked Rory, just because sometimes you just recognize names and you want to pick them. Yeah. But for that exact reason, I chose not to pick him, because I was like, well, Rory was like a name when I used to watch golf a little more that was pretty big. So like he's probably not like the top dude anymore. And and then he won. He made me eat my words. I was rooting for Tom Kim though, bro. After he played after watching TGL last week and watching Tom Kim just like be the man, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pick this guy and let's see what happens. And he was in second place towards the end of the event. I think he ended up getting like tied for 7th. Maybe he actually backed up quite a bit in the last few holes.
Yeah. Yeah, he's awesome. He's really young. He's only like 21, I think.
So I'm going to probably keep picking that guy, man. He's fun to watch. I don't know why I like his aura.
Yeah, no, he's a cool guy. I think a lot of the tour, like the older guys, also gravitate towards him. Like he's kind of like high energy, and he shows a little bit more emotion than other people. But so then the other big thing, which I kind of opened up the episode with, was what, Scott? NBA news?
NBA had probably the craziest trade that I've seen maybe ever, definitely in a very long time, over any sports. And the thing about this trade, before we talk about it, that makes it so unique nobody knew this was coming, including the players themselves.
Yeah.
The players themselves did not know this was coming. So it is just like in a day where technology and journalism just runs news rampant, rumors are swirling all the time. Most things these days in sports are not a surprise.
Yep.
This was a crazy surprise. When I read about this, I had to check like many different sources because I just didn't believe it happened. So talk about the trade, Deep. What did happen? And you talked about Luka in the intro. What was this trade?
Yeah, so basically it was a 3-team trade, which I actually thought it was only 2, and then when I looked deeper, I realized there was a third team. So it was between the Lakers, the Mavericks, and the Jazz. So the Lakers got Luka Doncic, which if you know who that is, hopefully you know who that is. He is a very, very top tier NBA player, probably one of the top. I would say he's probably in the top 5 right now of talent and, just things that he's done in his early career. They got Maxi Kleber and Markieff Morris. And then the Mavs got Anthony Davis, which hopefully a lot of people know who that is. He was the big man.
Brow.
Yep, the brow. And they got Max Christie, and then they got a 2029 first-round pick. And then Utah got Jalen Hood-Schifino, and they got 2 second-round picks for, I think it was 2026. But everyone's saying like the Lakers got the best of this and the Mavs got screwed over. I mean, Utah I haven't really heard as much about because they were kind of just like getting draft picks. They didn't, it wasn't really as much about the players, but they're like, how the hell did the Mavericks let Luka Doncic go for Anthony Davis? Like what?
Yeah. Every indication here on paper says that the Mavs got fleeced here and that the Lakers got their bag. It's an interesting thing. There's a few parts to this that I find really interesting. And Luka and LeBron play similarly. They have a fairly similar game, similar statistics. The Lakers were already kind of struggling with the bigs, and the fact that Anthony Davis was saying that he wanted another big because he didn't want to be the only big. And he was also having some injury issues.
Mm-hmm.
So then they traded him for this. And now who's their big, right? Like they're going to have to go sign like Dwight Howard or bring in another big. But at the same time, like you got Luka in this deal. Like Luka's younger. He's better. I would argue in most seasons, he's a top 3 player, even more than top 5. I will give the flip side. The Mavs are now going to have Anthony Davis balling out with Kyrie out there. That's a really cool combination as well.
Yeah.
But I think the Lakers clearly won this trade. I would love to hear if other people have other opinions. So what do you think? Did the Lakers or the Mavs come out better in this? And what do you think, Deeb?
Well, Maxi Kleber is a big man technically, but he's not good. Like I think he averages like 3 points a game. I mean,
yeah,
he's not a good there's no comparison of him to, what you lose with Anthony Davis. I know Davis has been hurt a lot, so maybe, they haven't really been getting as much out of him per se as you could, but yeah, I mean, there's no comparison of like, are you getting a good big man here or not? I mean, definitely think the Lakers benefited from this. And the craziest part about this was that like literally no one knew, even LeBron. And LeBron, like, you know how it is. Like, if he wants a player or, he's usually involved in these types of discussions. It was like no one knew. I don't know how they pulled that off, honestly.
They were at a bar somewhere, bro, and they had a few bourbons, and they were like, wouldn't it be interesting if we did something like this? And then they're like, let's do it. I think that's what had happened because it just otherwise, how did they keep this so under wraps and how did this come together? Like, it just, I don't know. My mind was blown.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy stuff.
For those who don't follow the NBA as much, I have a friend named Bobby who I was talking with about this trade. We had kind of a conversation going on.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a football guy out there, I know it's still kind of football season or guy or gal. Bobby said that, to compare this to people who aren't familiar with basketball, it's like, and this I think is a decent comparison. So shout out to Bobby for bringing this up, but it's like in the middle of the season, trading Derrick Henry for Saquon Barkley, right? Like you got a guy who's been the man, who's been really good, but is getting up there in age, probably going on the downhill slope of their career, if not already soonish. I mean, Anthony Davis is still playing great when he's healthy, but he's probably not going to keep playing at that level for a whole lot longer.
Yeah.
And then you got a guy who's like the new, who's been dominant and still has maybe not even entered their prime, that they're going to have a lot more years left. And so to make this kind of a trade, obviously they played different positions, but
yeah,
in the middle of the season, it's just like super unheard of and kind of mind blowing, to be honest with you.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. That's an interesting comparison. I don't think I've heard like football related, or like another sport comparison. So yeah, shout out to Bobby for that.
Yeah, and I think I actually like this better. This I think was a better comparison than Adam Schefter posted about it as well.
Yeah.
And he said it would be like trading like Lamar Jackson for Joe Burrow in the middle of the season. But I think both of those guys are still like both young and still are approaching their prime. So I think I actually like this Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley comparison better. I mean, not that Derrick Henry is bad. He's still dominating. Obviously he had a hell of a year.
Yeah.
But he's got a lot of miles on him and his age is up there, right? Like I think that's the comparison I'm going for here.
Yeah. I like that. So we don't have a ton for the weekly recap, but that's because we have a special segment this week, NFL season recap and Super Bowl preview. So we figured with the Super Bowl right around the corner, we would take a second to recap and do kind of a more fun, different style of a segment for looking back at the NFL season, right? Because as we've talked about, football's, about to be over here. So we thought it would be a great idea to take a look at this and then also talk about the upcoming Super Bowl because this is going to be released, before that game is played on Sunday. So what are we going to do for the NFL season recap? I think you kind of came up with a fun way to do this.
Yeah. So for the season recap, we've got a little bit of a game here where we're going to spin a wheel and that wheel is going to have some different statistical categories. And we're going to quiz each other on top fives. So there's 3 stats for 3 positions. So we got 3 for quarterback, 3 for running back, 3 for wide receiver. But we're just going to do 1 category for each. So let's say if we land on a QB stat, then I will remove all the QB stuff. And then whoever's turn it is, we'll quiz on that particular stat. And the goal here is one of us will pull the stats up. And the other one will be trying to guess the top 5 for that statistic for this past 2024 season.
Yeah.
Just a fun way to kind of recap a season because we get lost in the highlights. We get lost in the big stories. And sometimes there's these kind of underdog statistics that you kind of don't realize someone had that good of a year or at least were that good in that one statistical category.
Yep.
And so hopefully some of this might be surprising to those listening along. We'd love to hear if there are any shockers or anything that caught you guys by surprise. I am quite certain there will be some for us because, we've talked about a little bit of this of stats leading up to this, and I know there's just some crazy statistics out there.
Yeah. All right.
So I don't know.
It's going to work.
Do you want to quiz me first, or do you want me to quiz you? Whoever goes first is going to be on the hot seat twice, so it's up to you.
I probably won't know as much, I'll be honest. So do you want it to be more comical?
Yeah.
Or do you want it to be more serious?
You know what? Hold on. Let's just do 4 of them, and we'll just repeat one of these things one time.
Yeah, that's fair. Yep.
Okay. I'm going to pull the wheel up now then.
Okay.
And so basically after this first one, I'm not going to delete an entire position.
Okay.
So then our 4th one can just be whatever position.
Okay.
Now, it might be kind of hard to see. Yeah, you can't really see the wheel. That's okay. You can, but it might be harder to see on a phone. But we're going to spin it. Let's just let it rip and see what we get for this first one. And I will ask you the questions for the first one.
Okay.
So you are going to get quizzed on the top 5 running backs who had the most rushing yards this season. Oh, excuse me, most rushing touchdowns.
I was going to say rushing yards. I got this.
All right, so we're gonna remove that, and let me pull up my list of statistics here. I'm gonna just go through the NFL's
most rushing touchdowns, top 5.
Running backs, top 5 in touchdowns. Yes.
Okay.
Now I will tell you that there's a tie for 5th place, and so if you name any of them, I'll count it. Okay. So you're on the hot seat. Just as a reminder for anybody watching who wants to play along or try and guess with us, Steve has to guess for this last NFL season, the top 5 touchdown scorers for running backs. So top 5 rushing touchdown leaders. And you're on the seat. You can start guessing, and I'll tell you if you got it or not.
All right, I'm gonna have to go with my man from Detroit, Jahmyr Gibbs.
You got him. He's in a 3-way tie for first place. So that's one.
Oh shit! So I got to guess all 3 of those.
Well, you need to guess the 5 leaders in touchdowns. So
Okay.
the people you side with will still be in that.
Okay. So Jahmyr Gibbs, number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Derrick Henry.
Yep, another one tied for first place.
Okay. Saquon Barkley.
Actually, not in the top 5.
Shit.
Hard to believe.
Bijan Robinson.
He's tied for 5th, so we'll count it.
Okay,
They count it. Tied for 5th.
hell yeah.
You got 3 out of 5 now.
Jonathan Taylor.
No.
This is hard. Josh Jacobs.
Yes, that's number 4.
So what do I
need? One more.
One more.
You're missing one more tied for first place.
Who else is good? Najee Harris.
No, not even close.
Joe Mixon.
Not Mixon. Good guess, but actually he's a little lower on the list than I expected.
James Cook.
You got it. James
Hell
Cook was also tied for first. So I'm just going to go down the list here, and I'll include the ties. 16 rushing touchdowns this year. James Cook, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Derrick Henry all tied for first.
Wow.
Our 4th place is Josh Jacobs with 15. And then get this, number 14, you guessed Bijan, and I gave it to you. Or number 5, Bijan had 14. Guess who else also had 14? Kyron Williams, which is not that hard to believe.
Wow.
And Jalen Hurts, tied for 5th place in most rushing touchdowns in the season.
Does that
He had
count?
more rushing
Is that a
touchdowns.
running back?
Yeah, rushing touchdowns.
Okay.
He had more rushing touchdowns than Saquon Barkley by 1. He had 1 more rushing touchdown than Barkley. Now, if you think about that, most of those rushing touchdowns were just 1-yard tush pushes. Imagine if Saquon had another 14 touchdowns from just doing like 1-yard running. I mean, he could have been above 20 this year. If he had all of them, he'd be at 27. But even if he had half of them, he would have been at 20 rushing touchdowns. So that just goes to show you how good his season was, and it could have been even better.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so that's the first one. I've removed that. I'm going to pull our wheel back up here, and then you can quiz me.
Okay.
And I'm going to leave the running back stuff since we're doing 4. But the next time we get running back, we'll remove all positions from now on it.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, so you're going to be quizzing me on.
Uh-oh.
Give me a receiver stat. Most receiving touchdowns.
Ooh, okay.
And we're going to remove all the receiving stuff now.
Okay, let me pull it up here.
Ooh, I don't know. I'm not going to do good at this. I feel like there's just some sneaky stuff on here. There's some sneaky touchdown stats.
All right, so top 5 NFL wide receivers this year with the highest receiving touchdowns. Go ahead.
Yep, and it's just receiving touchdowns, right? Not limited to wide receivers.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know that Jamar Chase had the Triple Crown, so Chase is going to be your number 1 for receiving touchdowns.
He was 1.
I feel like he didn't have as many touchdowns this year, but he's got to be on this list. So is Justin Jefferson on that list?
No, he is on the list, but not top 5.
Yeah, it's just a weird year. Okay. I'm going to flip my train of thought here. I know a guy that gets a lot of red zone touchdowns, Mike Evans.
He is number 5.
Okay. I know a very weird statistic. A guy who had a really crappy first 6 weeks of the year, dominated later in the season. Mark Andrews had a lot of touchdowns. Is he on there?
He is number 4 somehow.
Okay, so I have 1, 4, and 5.
Yep.
2 and 3. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
He is number 3.
Okay.
I don't know if you'll get 2. It's a weird one.
Let's see. It's not going to be Nico. Who are good wide receivers in the league?
I think NFC.
NFC. Hold on.
They're in the playoffs. They're in the playoffs. So that's the only thing I'll give you as a tip.
Okay. There are a lot of teams in the playoffs. Give me a second here. Um, I knew there was going to be one that was just going to like not come to me, and it's probably Scary Terry.
Yeah. Yep. Terry
Okay.
McLaurin's number 2.
Wow, that was not coming to me for some reason.
I did not. Yeah, I didn't expect that he was going to be number 2. I didn't know that Mark Andrews had that many because I have it on my fantasy team and he was benched the whole year.
I just know I saw a stat that like up until week 6 he was like trash, and then after that he like led the league in receiving touchdowns or something. Like he like dominated for the second half of the season.
Yeah. So the
It's
top
like some
5.
crazy stat.
So I'll list them for you and give you who it was. So the top 5 touchdown for receivers, or not receivers, the top 5 most receiving touchdowns in the NFL this year. Number 1, Jamar Chase with 17. Number 2, Terry McLaurin with 13. Number 3, Amon-Ra St. Brown with 12. Number 4, Mark Andrews with 11. Number 5, Mike Evans also with 11. So technically there was a tie, but you wouldn't have got the next one. It was T. Higgins with 10. And then Jefferson also had 10. So he was close.
T. Higgins was a touchdown machine, and like certain games he would just randomly score like 3 touchdowns, but he just didn't do it every game.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
hell yeah.
I was humbled there by Scary Terry, that's for sure. Let's go back to the wheel here. We'll see what your next category is going to be. Oh. And again, I took all wide receiver stuff out now, just so that we're down to just the 2 positions left. And this is going to be a QB stat. It is the most passing yards.
Okay.
All right. So you're going to be on the clock for passing yards. Let me just pull that really quickly here. Okay. And most passing yards this season. Who do you got? Top 5.
Okay. Number 1 has to be Lamar Jackson.
Not in the top 5.
Passing yards?
Yep.
Oh my God. Okay. Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow's number 1. Yep.
Okay. Jared Goff.
Number 2. You got it.
Josh Allen.
Not even close.
Oh my God. I guess he didn't. Yeah, he wasn't up there. Burrow, Lamar, Goff. Or Lamar wasn't in there. Goff. What about Justin Herbert?
Nope.
No? Jordan Love?
Nope. Not even close.
Mahomes.
Nope.
Oh my God. I'm thinking of all the good players.
These are tough.
Who else is a quarterback?
Think about
Jaden Daniels.
No, decent guess based on my clue, but no. Well, who's a quarterback who did really good this year that was unexpected other than Jaden Daniels?
Bo Nix?
No, but I mean, he did well, but he's not in the top 5.
Damn it. Who am I missing? Oh, Sam Darnold.
Darnold's number 5. I feel like number 3 is semi-predictable. Number 4 is going to be tough. These are both NFC quarterbacks.
Baker Mayfield.
He's number 3, and good luck with number 4.
You said they're both NFC?
Mm-hmm. I would have never guessed this. I'm not going to lie. That's my clue.
Oh, Caleb Williams.
No, absolutely not.
Damn it. That's why I was trying to take the long shot, because I was like, it's got to be someone random. Who was he?
It's someone who had a good year still.
Russell Wilson.
Decent guess, but no.
Damn it.
I'm gonna limit you now. NFC West.
Oh my God. Geno Smith?
Yep, number 4, Geno Smith.
I was gonna say he's kind of like sneaky. Like they had a good year.
Kind of hard to believe. So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, just to round that out, your top 5 and passing yards this year: Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith, and then Sam Darnold. And then after that is Lamar Jackson, and then Mahomes. And then Allen comes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more down the list from that.
Gee.
Yeah, he's like in 12th in passing yards, but he also like didn't really like do anything wrong all season, right? Like he protected the ball, he had good rushing stats. But it is wild to think, this is just looking at yards. So very, very selective statistic, but neither of our MVP favorites, Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, are even in the top 5 in yards. Like that's just kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah. I think I said Lamar right away because I was thinking of his rushing yards too added in.
Yeah,
totally. Yeah, I was thinking of total yards. That's why I was like, oh, it's Lamar right away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, Burrow almost hit 5,000. He was at 49.18 this year.
Yeah, that's nuts.
All right, let me pull this up. Obviously, I'm going to have a running back statistic, and there's only 2 to choose from if you guys have been keeping up with the wheel here. So I'm either going to have to go, I really don't want this first one, but it's either going to be rushing attempts or rushing yards. And I don't think I'm going to do well at this, to be honest with you.
Rushing yards, you might do better. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. All right, so yep, top 5 rushing yards. You let me know when you're ready, and I'll start doing my guesses. Well, number 1 is going to be Saquon. I'm sure about that.
Yep.
I believe number 2 is going to be Derrick Henry. Pretty confident about that. I'm going to guess Joe Mixon.
No.
Okay. I'm going to guess Josh Jacobs.
No, he's number 6.
Of course he is. All right, let's go back to the drawing board here. Rushing yards. James Cook?
Nope.
I didn't think so. Bro, my brain turns to mush some days, man. I'm telling you.
Just think of really good fantasy football players. Like who gets drafted really early?
Yeah.
What
about Achane?
No. NFC teams.
They're all NFC teams?
A few of them, yeah. NFC, they're, I don't know if it's East or West, but NFC Midwest. Think of the Midwest.
Okay, Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yep, he's number 5.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What do I have so far? I have 3. I have number 1, 2, and 5.
Yeah. There's a state south of Michigan where this person plays.
Jonathan Taylor.
Yep. He's number 4.
So I'm missing number 3?
Yeah. This he played for Texas in college.
Ooh. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. My college stuff is only like in very recent years. Is it Kyron Williams?
No. There's a very major airport in the state.
In the state?
It's in the south.
Oh, Atlanta, Bijan.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was trying to give you like a different type of clue.
Honestly, every clue you gave me pointed directly to Bijan, and my head was just going everywhere except for the Atlanta Falcons for some reason. But yeah. Okay, so
Kyron Williams was 7. Josh Jacobs was 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was
James Cook is like 10 or 12. Joe Mixon and
James
Cook are like lower, way lower.
Well, I think Mixon missed a couple of games this year, and I think Cook was more of like a touchdown machine than he was like a consistent like rusher, like yardage wise. So that makes sense.
Lamar Jackson almost had more rushing yards than James Cook. That's kind of crazy.
Let's say that is a crazy stat.
Okay, well, so the top 5 most rushing yards this year in the NFL: Saquon Barkley, number 1, 2005. Derrick Henry, number 2, 1921. Bijan Robinson, number 3, 1456. Jonathan Taylor, number 4, 1431. And Jahmyr Gibbs, number 5, 1412.
Damn. Honestly, look at the gap between Derrick Henry and Bijan. It was like 500 yards, right?
Yeah,
that's crazy that Saquon and Derrick were that far ahead of everybody else.
Yep. They were in a league of their own.
Yeah. Okay, well, hopefully that was fun. We're happy to do more of that stuff. If people listening want us to do more segments like this, feel free to give us categories and we'll take a stab at it. We always say that we're just casual sports fans talking about sports. And as you can see, we are not perfect and we don't know every statistic. And some of those I probably should have known, and maybe DB should have known some, but here we are. That's just when you get put in the hot seat, you don't always come up with the answers right away.
I was struggling to even think of player names. I was like, I know people, but I just can't think of anyone right now. I don't know.
I feel like whenever you're on the hot seat, your brain instantly becomes like 50% capacity. You just can't do it the same way.
100%. All right. So the second part of this is a Super Bowl preview. So, we have the Chiefs versus the Eagles this coming Sunday, February 9th, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time in New Orleans, NOLA. So we've talked about this, so we don't have to go too in depth because I know we covered this or kind of gave our thoughts on the last pod or last couple pods, but should be a really interesting matchup. You have one team, the Chiefs, that has some controversy behind them with the refs. They've had a great season. They're going for a three-peat. A lot of people don't like that. They don't want the dynasty, etc. Mahomes and Kelsey, obviously, both very popular. You have Taylor Swift involved in the loop, etc. And on the other side, you have the Eagles, who have, Saquon, crazy year, probably should have broke the rushing record. Jalen Hurts, lots of tush pushes, gave away a lot of those touchdowns to Saquon, or that Saquon could have had. I would call them maybe more of the underdog here, potentially. Obviously, they're going against the champs, so a very interesting matchup, and kind of just curious to hear if you have any thoughts on how you think this one might play out. We don't have to give our pick, but what do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think about this one?
Well, we're building up to what a lot of people are saying is, not a super exciting Super Bowl. A lot of people, I think, didn't want this to be the Super Bowl we got.
Mm-hmm.
But there are storylines in any competition, and you already teed this up. We're talking about a potential three-peat, never been done in history before, against two of the greats in the sport right now with Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley, who have never won a ring. And so, we got a couple of firsts versus a three-peat, and there's all kinds of drama around it with, referees and journalism and whatever you want to talk about. Everyone has an opinion on this, and there's quite an outrage calling for investigation in the referees at this point.
Yeah.
But you also have to think, if let's just say there's not any collusion with referees, it would really suck to be arguably one of the best dynasties in history and to not be able to really even enjoy the moment because of all of the crazy rhetoric that's going on right now.
Yeah.
I think there's been some questionable calls, but the Chiefs are playing in primetime nearly every week, so they're always under a microscope. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why they get the more media coverage.
Yeah.
That's an argument my buddy Drew makes, and honestly, I think there's some validity to it. The one thing I will say is there's been some kind of crazy journalism going on this week. Just journalists, reporters, just asking the players outright, like, "Yeah, like, do you send the referees Christmas cards for every year?" And someone asked Patrick Mahomes today. I saw a video of this. He was just like, "Yeah, you've had a lot of success in life, and there's been a lot of greats who have helped you win along the way. So which one of those referees was your favorite?" It's like just kind of super disrespectful comments towards these players.
Oh my!
I'm not defending the Chiefs, but I'm just saying that there's two sides to every coin. And so we've got a very interesting and polarizing Super Bowl coming up here with a very narrow window for the betting spread. So I think anything could happen. I think no matter what, people will be dissatisfied. But I'm just going to go on a record and say that from what I can tell, the people's favorite is going to be the Eagles coming into this weekend. I think more people want to see the Eagles win than the Chiefs.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. Obviously, there's Kansas City following out there that would disagree with that, but it's like you're rooting for the underdog, right? Like you want them to, take down the champs. You kind of want to see the champs lose. The same things happened when we had, the Patriots, and they had their dynasty and they won it almost every other year in Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. So I feel like people were rooting against them, but after the fact, everybody hails Tom Brady as the GOAT, etc. Right? So I know it's a different scenario, but it's like in the moment, I also feel like they also kind of get caught up too. And, the refs thing is interesting. I don't know. It's a very interesting scenario. So
if you pick and choose certain things to look at when it comes to penalties, then there is some damning evidence against the referees, but that requires you to only pick and choose those certain things and only in certain moments. It's so hard to say. I mean, it very likely could be that something crazy is going on behind the scenes, but it also just as likely is probably not happening. Yeah. I don't want to be one of those conspiracy theorists as I watch sports. I'd rather enjoy the sport and believe in the game I'm watching.
Yeah.
So I'll call out some stuff because of its effects on the outcome of games, but I have a really hard time in seriousness saying that like this is 100% rigged. I don't know. That's my opinion on it.
I like to skirt the lines of the conspiracies.
I know you do, as you know you hear. All right, well, let's go to a more lighthearted conversation here. If you recall, we had a clip this week or last week that was posted on our social media where I was recalling my top 5 Super Bowl teams of all time. there's been a lot of agreements, disagreements with some of those teams. If
Mhm.
you, Deeb, if you recall, you texted me to prompt me that, and I said I was really going to just focus on teams from like the last 25 or 30 years,
Yeah.
so that I had a chance to actually personally watch those teams play. So yeah, there's been some greats before I was born, and there's been some greats since I was born that I
Yeah.
didn't choose. But I want to ask you one now. I want to do a top 5 list for you. So
Okay.
let's keep the Super Bowl theme here. What
Okay.
for you personally in your life, what were the top 5 most memorable halftime shows that you saw at a Super Bowl?
Most memorable halftime shows.
And that can be for whatever reason. I mean, whether
Okay.
you loved it, whether it was controversial, whatever, just what are the top 5 Super Bowl performances that stand out the most to you?
Do they have to be, do you mean to name them in order? Like what's the top and what's the least?
If I would like that in the end, but if you need
Okay.
to like just put things down first and then we can organize them, I'll do that. But let's get a top 5 list by the time we're done here though.
Okay. Man, there's so many. I mean, some of the ones that come to mind right away, and this is in no order, so this is my spitballing and then I'll put them in order. But like, I remember like the Katy Perry one with the sharks. That one was like super funny, and I just feel like people made a lot of memes and jokes about. I remember the one that's the most recent that I recall was when it was like Dr. Dre and Snoop. It was like every crazy like Hall of Fame rapper pretty much made an appearance. I think that was like a
Yeah.
couple years ago. I also remember the one with The Weeknd. I think that was like a COVID or kind of COVID
Oh
Super
yeah, that
Bowl,
was a
whatever.
weird one.
Dude,
Yeah.
remember that? He was just like he was just stumbling around. I was like, "What is this?" He's just stumbling around in like this like mirror thing or whatever, where he just goes through all. I thought he was legitimately confused during that. I was like, he's definitely doesn't know where he's at right now. He's on something. All right. I think I do know an order though. So all right, here they are. Top 5 most memorable Super Bowl shows. Number 1, well, actually, I'll go backwards. Number 5, I would
Mhm.
put the Dr. Dre, Snoop, 50 Cent, Eminem, etc. I feel like that was a really incredible one, especially with 50 Cent coming down like he's Spider-Man. That was
Hang
probably
it upside down.
number 4, maybe a little bit different, but Prince. I don't know if you remember this, but when he was, it was like 2007, I think, Super Bowl 41. He had a really, really like good performance. Like I'm not a
Mhm.
huge Prince fan, but just such an iconic, music legend that you just have to appreciate his performance. So I'd put number 4 Prince. And in the same light, I think I would put number 3, Michael Jackson. This one was not one that I saw obviously live. It was in like 1993, so I would have been like 1 years old. But it's one of those ones where like I remember seeing the video of him, and literally the entrance is just him standing still for the first 2 minutes, and you're like, what's gonna happen? Like, is he okay? Is he just gonna like do something? But I just remember like I mean Michael Jackson is another one of those like crazy legends, obviously.
Mm.
R.I.P. to both of them. I think I have to put the Katy Perry one at number 2. Just because the
Because of the
shark
shark.
like I'll never forget that for the rest of my life. I'll remember it because of the sharks, solely because of
Yeah.
the sharks.
There was an internet buzz after that with those damn sharks.
And then number 1 has got to be Janet Jackson, Justin Timberlake when he has her naked by the end of this song and flashes the boob. Like that's one that I'll never forget because I was like in middle school, I think, and I was just like
How did I know
watching
you
it.
were going to choose?
I was just like, no way, this is crazy. I always got to be
When I saw that,
memorable.
when I saw that live, my mom was in the room. She was like, "Was that a boob?" And I was like, "No."
You would. But hey, if I can give an honorable mention, it's got to be The Weeknd, just because he was so damn confused. Like that one, I think will still stick with me as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll drop some of mine in here. I'm just going to add a couple that you didn't mention. I think some of the recent ones have been bangers, and maybe it's just because I'm at that age now where like the people that are singing at the Super Bowl halftime show were like people that were I listened to a lot when I was like an early teenager. But I would say Rihanna's was pretty damn good. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was a good mixture of all of her stuff and performance. But Usher, I thought he brought the house down last year. That was a really good Super Bowl halftime show. Like I I don't know. That might have been just musically, not like memorably, but musically, that might have been my favorite one I've ever seen. And that might be a hot take for some people, but
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this year's. We have Kendrick Lamar. I'm wondering how many times he's going to play Not Like Us. I'm wondering if he's going to go into some of this controversial statements that he makes in that song, like dealing with like the children types of things. Because there's a lawsuit out on that. I don't know. Are you familiar with the lawsuit?
I'm not, but it doesn't surprise me.
So we'll see. I mean, it got a mention at the Grammys. So why wouldn't it get a mention at the Super Bowl halftime show?
Yeah.
We'll have to follow along with that.
Yeah.
Before we move forward, there's one more thing I want to talk about. And you and I think we're really excited about this. And that is we are going to do our very first ever Single Barrel Sports podcast giveaway for the Super Bowl. We always say this is not a football podcast. This is a seasonal sports podcast, but we have done a lot of talking about football thus far. And we want to make the Super Bowl memorable by capping it off with a $50 Amazon gift card giveaway. And this will work across all of our social media platforms. There will be posts on all of our social media. So Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it. It's going to be Instagram. I think I said Instagram already. It'll be on all of them, all the stuff we mentioned at the top of the show. There will be instructions for how to enter. There will be pinned posts that you can kind of follow along with. But basically, it's going to be your standard formats like, comment, follow, repost if it's on Twitter, those types of things. We're really looking to kind of get our sports podcast out there into the world and really to celebrate the end of the football season by giving a big giveaway to whoever wins. Now, I've mentioned a lot of different social media. How this will work is there will be basically every time that you do that, like if you do this on all of our social media platforms, you'll get an additional entry into the giveaway for each one that you do. So like if you only do it on Twitter, then you're going to get like one entry into this kind of like raffle or selector that picks the winner.
Yeah.
But if you do it on like, let's say Instagram, Twitter, and our TikTok, then you get 3 entries, So like however many you do, you get more entries for each. So that's our way of encouraging you guys to check out all of our social media and to share it with your friends. We really enjoy doing this and we want to be able to engage with more people, but it's also our way to give back and to celebrate the success we've had as a podcast and also the successful football season by giving away a $50 Amazon gift card. So keep an eye out. By the time that this podcast airs, there will already be posts across all of our social media for how to enter. And we really look forward to sharing that gift card with whoever wins.
Hell yeah. Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Hell yeah. Well, on that note, my glass is empty, so it's time for the halftime pour.
All right, let's get it.
Which is one of my favorite segments where we get to share our bourbon side of the podcast, right?
That's right.
So we're going to tell you what our selections are tonight. We like to just have a little sip of bourbon while we do the podcast. Why we chose that. We'll do a cheers, take a sip. We also have a question of the night that we will ask as we do this. So, Scott, you want to kick off with what you're drinking tonight and why?
I sure will, yeah. So I actually went to the store today to get something fresh just for the podcast, and I wanted something that had a little different flavor to it. And we kind of talked about recently some of these kind of different finishes on different barrels for bourbons. So I actually have nothing crazy here. You should be able to find this at your local liquor store, but it's the Yellowstone Special Finishes Collection. It's a bourbon that was it basically finished with toasted oak staves. So they just added some toasted oak staves into the actual barrel to give it a little bit more of a toasted flavor. And it's 100 proof and it is delicious. There's no reason I chose this tonight other than I wanted to try something different. And I've never had this before. And it is very tasty. I'm enjoying it quite a lot.
I don't think I've tried that one. That sounds really good. You have to pass it to me through the screen.
I got you. Yep. So there we go.
I am having a repeater here, but I think this is one of the very first ones I've had on the podcast. So this is, if I can get it in, there we go. It's a Starlight Huber cigar batch. This is a pick from the great state of Iowa. Got to give a shout out to my boy Travis who got this for me when he was there. This is finished in Amberana barrels. I talked about this on one of the other podcasts. It gives it like a cinnamon toast crunch flavor. So I highly encourage, if you can find any bourbons out there that have Amberana barrels as the finish, definitely give it a shot if you like the cinnamon toast crunch type of flavor. I picked it because it's just a very unique flavor and a good change up. And, I'm kind of in honor of my birthday, going to Jamaica, having a little bit of a change up. I figured it'd be nice to taste something a little bit different tonight. So pour them up, huh?
Yes, sir.
All right. And we have a question of the night, right?
We sure do. And I'll kick it off if you don't mind. So
Yeah.
we want to hear from everybody. This is not just a question amongst us, but if you're a sports fan. If you watch college football or college sports, you know about NIL offering out deals and money. So let's say if a bourbon brand offered you an NIL deal, which bourbon brand are you going to sign with? And Deeb, you can take it away first.
Wow. Surprised more bourbon brands are not in the NIL space now that I think of it. Let me think. If they offered me a deal, which one am I signing with? Well, I like dollars and, I like bourbon. So I'm going to be generic, but I feel like I kind of have to say Buffalo Trace because they're the biggest or one of the biggest distilleries. They make some of the best bourbons out there. They're very well known, and I have to imagine that that's going to be a money bag. So, we're going to get paid. We're going to get paid and have some great bourbon.
Yeah, and they might slide you some on the cheap or on the free too, and that's a great distillery. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Bardstown.
Okay.
Bardstown's that up and comer, man. You see that stuff every time you see it now. You just know it's quality. You're gonna, for some of their collections, you gotta pay a pretty penny for it, but you're gonna get your money's worth every time. Bardstown makes some of the best bourbon that I've ever had. And Buffalo Trace probably makes the best I've ever had, but Bardstown is right behind them in my opinion. And some of the newer stuff they keep coming out with just keeps getting better and better. So sign me up for that, and hopefully my career then would follow that trajectory as well.
That was probably top 3 for me if I had to have a list of things. So I like that one.
Nice.
All right, we're moving into in other news. So we like to talk about things outside of the norm. So, try to pull up some videos, give you some things in other sports, etc., that maybe is a little out there. So the first one, speaking of NBA trades, that's kind of one that we covered, was some rumors that are coming up around potential trades. This isn't finalized, but some potential rumors about how Kevin Durant and Grayson Allen may potentially be heading to the Knicks. Interesting here. What are your thoughts on Kevin Durant possibly getting traded?
Well, my thoughts are that Kevin Durant's played for a variety of teams already, and it wouldn't surprise me if he got traded because he's the kind of guy that at the deadline can take your team to the next level. He is a very, very solid basketball player. He can really elevate a team. I guess we'll see what happens. Now, I've seen some rumors that other teams are looking at Durant as well.
Yeah.
And so I believe the deadline is this Thursday, the day that this podcast is dropping. So we'll just have to see what happens, but maybe we'll have some news before this drops. But I could see a lot of things happening. I could see him going back to Golden State.
Yeah.
I could see him going to Dallas. Who knows? Who knows what could happen?
He's a phenomenal player. I just feel like he hasn't really done a whole lot since he won those championships. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like he's bounced around to a few teams and they just have not been able to get over the hump. So I'll just be curious if he does go to New York. I know New York has been playing a lot better recently, especially with like Jalen Brunson and some of the other talent they have. I don't know, like if they could get it to the finals with that, that'd be actually really interesting because I feel like New York has kind of struggled for a while, since Patrick Ewing days to be relevant.
Yeah, that's fair.
So this next one, this one's more of an interesting thing that I found. We always like to find some random stuff. So 10-man MMA Royal Rumble.
Well, I have not seen this yet. I cannot wait to see this.
Yeah, I don't even know what this is. The guy announcing's wearing a cape. Like, there's no need for an octagon, but let's just watch this. Well, kind of loud. Let me turn that off. All right, we really don't need volume here. All we got to do is just see what happens in this clip here. But I don't know who any of these guys are. This is like clearly some super off-brand, likely in another country event. But
Just back them into court. Oh, they're like punching too.
yeah, it's like legit MMA. I mean, look, this guy's got him in a headlock, and he's like the other guy's like falling on top of him.
I guess I was just imagining just grappling, but this is crazy.
Oh, so like they got to stay in the red. They got to stay in the square. I get it now. I was like, how are people getting eliminated?
The graphic at the bottom is amazing, by the way. They just go dark whenever they get eliminated.
Yeah.
This is insane. What is this?
I mean, like, dude, these guys are like, look at this guy. That. Oh, that guy just almost
Anyways, bro. This guy's gigantic.
This guy has a huge weight advantage. Clearly, it's
He
like
just needs to pick these
heavyweight.
dudes up and toss them. What is going on?
They're
here?
like triple teaming this guy. Oh,
They
now
need
they're
to
just-
double team the big guy. Dude, he's huge compared to them. This guy's tiny.
Oh, he's out.
He got him out.
Oh, the big guy's out.
These guys are just gonna fight in the center. Oh damn!
How do they even still have energy?
Is he just gonna knock him out? Oh, he's choking him.
Wow, he got him to tap. Oh my god, that guy looks scary.
What was that?
I don't know. I just saw it and I was like, this is very interesting. We have to show it. So,
Okay,
yeah.
that was entertaining for sure.
We have phone booth boxing, 10-man MMA. Next one is an NBA clip. I know we've talked about Wemby a couple times, but he had this crazy 3-pointer. I don't know how that wasn't a backcourt violation. Over Giannis, fading away.
Wow.
This guy's fake, bro.
Wow. Yeah,
He's an alien.
Okay. Yeah, how did he keep it in this court? Like,
I like he's literally fading away. Like,
wow.
I don't know. Maybe that was more lucky than anything, but he's unreal.
Could be.
This next one is interesting. So back to the NFL. This is a clip of Terrell Owens calling out the NFL for being rigged for the Chiefs. So interested to hear people's thoughts on this one because he has a take as a former player. So let's listen in to see what he says.
Like I said, and with the refs. I just honestly, with all the calls,
say the refs.
I just because
I've been talking about the refs too. They leave like they can't hear.
bro, it's crazy because I played the game and I'm watching the game and I'm looking at all these calls that that's benefiting the Kansas City Chiefs. Look at the game before against the Texans, bro. Like Mahomes is smart. He dinking around. He causing the flag. You know what I mean? He's getting the benefit of he didn't even get hit. 15-yard flag. The guy Will Anderson barely hit him. That can stop the momentum of the game.
Yeah.
There at that point in time, the Houston Texans were in the game. Those calls right there advances them, give them extra downs. It changed the whole complexity.
So we don't have to watch the whole thing, but just kind of curious what your thoughts are because he's a former player, a more controversial player, but I mean,
Yeah.
he's on the wagon of people who are saying that it's rigged.
Yeah, I think it kind of goes against the code of players. I feel like you don't often hear them.
Yeah.
This year maybe more than normal, but accusing the referees of things like that, even if they do believe it. But it is TO, so I'm not super surprised. And
Yeah.
at the points he's making are valid. I just don't know if you can 100% say that that definitely rigged. It very well could be. There's been a lot of outcomes impacted, but it also could just be the nature of the game, and timely penalty. Some of those penalties are BS. I will say that.
Yeah.
Some are just complete BS.
Yep.
But sometimes a penalty is actually a penalty, Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt. I don't want to be jaded going into the Super Bowl.
For sure. Next one is from College Hoops. We haven't shown much of this, but this was just a crazy sequence of plays between Iowa State and Kansas, which are both ranked very high. So this guy steals it, is on the fast break, gets it poked out. This guy comes out of nowhere, then steals it, and then it ends with this.
With an alley-oop? Oh,
It was just like, oh, okay.
no shot. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was just, I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting one. And then the last one we have is back to the PGA, which is this upcoming weekend. We have the Waste Management, which is really, I think, the awesome kickoff event for the PGA Tour. I really call this like the actual kickoff event here. So this is some stats from the past 3 Waste Management Opens. And if for those of you that don't know, this is like a wild party of an event. This is like Happy Gilmore in real life. People get like destroyed at these. Like they have stadium seating everywhere, as you can kind of see in the background, and people just go here to party. Look at these stats, Scott. 2022, 2023, 2024. The Scottsdale Police
they're getting
Department
worse too.
calls for service 653.
It's getting worse.
54 arrests last year. 211 ejections last year. 73 trespasses, and obviously the numbers just get worse each year. So
Wow.
this is a party of an event. It's fun. The players love it. The people clearly love it, and they get a little bit too wild. And just to show you a little bit of an idea of what that looks like, again, for those who have never seen this, like this is what happens with, these are golfers, by the way. This is on one of the stadium hills. Yeah, people just like throw stuff.
Dude just rips his shirt off and is
Take
throwing
shirts off. Yeah,
Oh my.
it's a wild event, man. So I'm looking forward to. I'll be able to catch a little bit of it. We'll have to see if we can get or if it's on TV in Jamaica or not. But yeah, it's a really fun event. So looking forward to that.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Community call out time. Want to talk about that?
Yeah, so in community callouts, we just like to shout out some of you who have engaged with some of our stuff. And we just want to show some appreciation for those who take the time out of their day to, just make some comments, talk to us a little bit about the clips from the podcast. So first one is Wayne or Nightlife on X, just commenting and reposting some of our stuff, and then also commenting on some of our Instagram posts. So once again, buddy, thank you for hanging with us. I know we have a long history of video gaming and streaming, and just happy you're part of the podcast journey as well with us. And another person from that same lifestyle is Amanda. Thank you for the comment on our last podcast release video. Appreciate you as always. We got Zach, Trent, Garrett, Emmy for following us on Instagram this week. Lionheart for commenting on our unusual NFL rule on Instagram. We have TikTok new followers, and there's many more than this that have just recently come through. But Casey Murph, Mo333, Lazaro Jimenez, Chanty, and Living the Life, and like I said, many others. So thank you guys. Those follows mean the world to us. And if you guys haven't yet engaged with our other social media and you're listening to the podcast episode, come hang out with us, chat with us on there. We post a lot of segments from the podcast, and we post some other fun and silly stuff as well. And we'd love to hear from you. So keep an eye out. We do some polls. We do some bracketology. We're about to do a giveaway. So just keep hanging with us and let us know if you want to see anything different, and we'll bring it your way.
All right. Single barrel picks. Really have one this week because we're focusing it in. We're, kind of to be continued from earlier on the Super Bowl pick. So there's only one game, and there's only 2 of us, and there's only 2 teams, right? So this should be pretty easy to get through.
Yeah. So the game that we have is obviously the Super Bowl. And as of the time of this recording, Kansas City is a 1.5 point favorite over the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yep.
Typically, we choose one person to pick first. This week, we're just going to flip a coin, Dave, if you're okay with that. And whoever flips the coin can choose what side of the bet they want to be on. And the other one is automatically stuck with the other side.
Yep. That's fine.
Before we do that, we usually have a little skin in the game. You got a bet in mind? Something you want to kind of like make this a little sweeter with?
Yeah. So someone that I've enjoyed watching over the years is Stephen A. Smith. So I think that the loser, if you lose this, you have to post a video of yourself impersonating him, but he is roasting you, so you have to roast yourself pretty much, and we're going to tag him in the video for making the wrong pick in the Super Bowl.
Okay. Actually, I think I like that. That no matter what, that should be a fun outcome here. So I'm with that.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to pull up my little coin flipper. Hopefully you can see this.
Yep.
and a little Sleep Number bed advertisement there. And I'll let you call it. You want heads or tails?
Tails never fails, baby.
Okay, let's see. Oh, it's heads.
Rigged.
Okay, well, you saw it here live and in camera. I'm going to make the pick, and you're going to get stuck. And I've got to go with the thing that all signs are pointing towards. Never thought I would choose this team this season. But I am going to say that I think that the Chiefs will win by at least 1.5 and be a three-peat Super Bowl champion team.
All right. Well, I don't have a choice, so I'm going to go with the Eagles, and I could definitely see the Eagles winning this, and I actually do hope they win this one. So,
And just as
Right
a
all the way.
reminder, okay, well, as a reminder for those who've been following along this year, we have been making our single barrel picks on football games, and we have an overall record tally here. Deeb is 18-12 on all of his spread picks. So not just who's going to win, but how much they're going to win by. He's 18-12, which is great. And I have a record of 20-10 this year. So we have had a pretty decent success. And if you think about it, we're betting the spread on these. We're picking for the spread. These are fairly even bets, like even money bets if you were to go to Vegas. So, I'd be up double my money at this point. I would have doubled up.
Yeah.
And you'd be up like 66% or something crazy. Now, that's not a fact. I'm sure it might be a little more than that, but I'm not doing the math right now. So, listen, we're both up money. And no matter what happens with the Super Bowl, that won't change. So it's been fun to make these picks. And hopefully those who have been following along have had fun with some of the bets we've been making. And we are going to keep that energy. We're just going to switch from football, start over after this coming week with a 0-0 record, and just sprinkle in some highlight games from other sports and just make random picks going forward. So hopefully that will be exciting. It'll engage some other areas other than football. But we're going to close it out with just the one pick this week to really put a final seal on the chapter of the NFL season.
Let's go. Find out what happens. All right. So the last segment here that we have, or the last two, is one of them is the 2-minute warning. So it's a fun segment where we get to ask each other some obscure questions back and forth to make some people laugh, give some entertainment, and also hopefully get you to think a little bit.
Okay. So I've got the timer up on the screen here. Do you want to ask the first question?
Yeah, I'll ask the first one.
Okay. And go for it.
Would you rather take a hit from Ray Lewis or take 10 shots of 151 proof bourbon with no chaser in a row?
Oh. In a row is the part that I don't think I could do. So I think I'm going to let Ray Lewis into my life instead of letting alcohol do it. Would you rather have LeBron James as your bartender for a night or Peyton Manning as your Uber driver?
Probably LeBron James so I could talk shit to him.
Okay, buddy.
I feel like it'd be fun. Would you rather do a pub crawl with Rob Gronkowski or a quiet distillery tasting with Michael Jordan?
Both of those sound great for very different reasons. But I'm feeling froggy tonight, so let's do the pub crawl with Gronk and see just how wild and fun we can have on one night out.
Oh, man.
Would you rather have your team lose the Super Bowl by a last-second missed field goal or blow a 28-3 lead?
Oh, last-second field goal. I mean, that's very heartbreaking, but 28-3 is just embarrassing, man. You go down in the history books as being an embarrassing loss.
Looking at you, Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah. Would you rather be stuck on a plane for 6 hours sitting next to a drunk Ric Flair or a sober Skip Bayless?
Oh, there's no good answer here. I would take. Oh gosh, I'm not a guy that finds Ric Flair super entertaining. However, I think I'd rather have a drunk Ric Flair as long as I can drink too. I don't want to hang out with Skip Bayless, so we'll go with Ric Flair.
That's fair.
Would you rather get dunked on by Shaq or posterized by a rookie on national TV?
I would let Shaq dunk on me because he's huge and it's not on TV and it's very expected. And then last one, would you rather have to race Tyreek Hill in the 40-yard dash or wrestle Brock Lesnar for 30 seconds?
Oh, well, Lesnar is a beast and he's not gentle at all. So I would just get my ass whooped by Tyreek Hill on a 40-yard dash and not have to deal with an injury after that. Or maybe I would. It's still an old man running a 40-yard dash.
Yeah, he'd probably talk a lot of shit to you, so. All right, so it is time for the last call, which just like at the bar, it's our signal to kick you out. Last call. So, Scott, you want to say some words for the last call to leave the people with this week?
Yeah, and every single time that we do last call, I always thank people for all of the support, and I always want to keep doing that. But I really want to shout out those who have listened for a prolonged period of time now, and just hear from you. What do you like about this podcast? What are some things we can change? What topics do you want us to dive into? Football season ends this weekend, and the world becomes our oyster. We're going to be doing obviously like some NBA, some NHL. We'll be doing some golf, but we want to cover things that you guys like, right? So you want some MMA? Got you. Random sprinkling in of like WWE from time to time, we got you. We can try and do a little bit of soccer, but we would both have to learn quite a lot. But what we're getting at here is we're casual fans of sports, and we would love to do things that other people enjoy. So let us know. Reach out to us either privately or on our social media. We're open to all feedback. We want to keep doing this thing, and we want to make it fun and successful for a long time to come. This is not a short-term journey for us, hopefully.
Hell yeah. I second that. My last call would be, we did try to do something a little bit different today. Obviously, it was still football related, but kind of mixing in those like trivia type, can you guess the top 5 or, the Super Bowl, like halftime show, that sort of thing. We think those are pretty fun, and I always enjoy, I've seen like clips and podcasts and stuff where they do that kind of stuff. So let us know your thoughts on that. I'd really like some feedback. Did you guys enjoy that, or would you like to see those? And then the other thing is, with next week too, we're having guest episodes. So I think that's something that you and I have talked about. So if you're interested in being a guest, or you know somebody that you think would be a very good guest, just based on what you've seen, please let us know. We would love to have people and, start to mix in. And as you'll see, we're going to definitely start getting into more of having guests on the show to change it up a bit, hear from other people and learn a bit. But other than that, my friends, cheers to everyone. I will be 1 year older when we get back. So hopefully you all have a great weekend, good Super Bowl, and at least maybe if you don't like the game, some interesting Super Bowl commercials or halftime shows.
Oh yeah. Well, happy early birthday, brother, and cheers to you.
Thanks, man. Cheers.